evening and welcome to Law Talk, the show that brings the Constitution, today's events, and politics into light to your living room each month. Tonight, I'm James Barrett, and with Mark Malachowski, we're gonna cover some subjects that will pique your interest. Mark, what are we starting with tonight?
Well, Jim, tonight we're going to talk about Obamacare and the potential costs that it could bring to our viewing public.
Okay, when you're talking about costs, are you talking about the increase in the insurance rates? Are you talking about the increase in the deductibles? Are you talking about the fact that you're going to lose your doctor and lose your program as opposed to what was promised? What are you talking about?
We're talking about cash, Jim.
Cash. Actual cash.
Cash money.
Cash money.
Cash, yeah.
So what are some of the costs that we're talking about here, Mark?
Well, there's a couple of different opinions, okay? One opinion that's espoused by the president is that everyone's going to save $2,500 for every household, which would be about $250 billion a year for the country, that we're going to save hundreds of billions of dollars every year on Obamacare. That's one way of looking at it.
But unfortunately, Mark, the cost of the whole healthcare rollout is substantially above that. So how can a savings of a couple of $100 billion really add up when you're talking about a program that could be $100 billion or $200 billion extra on the taxpayer's dole?
Well, what's happening, if you look at what's happened so far, okay, Obamacare spent $678 million.
Whoa, time out. $678 to do what?
For the website.
The website?
So $678 million for the website.
Well, wait a minute. I had a website built for my office that cost $2,000. And you know what that website can do? I can take payments online. I can have people look at all our TV shows. And that's just my office. Why would it cost $678 million?
Well, you didn't have the smiling girl on there.
Oh,
wait, that's right. They don't have that anymore.
They took that off, right?
Okay, yeah, so $678 million for the website. And experts look at this website, and it didn't work as well as it otherwise would have been desired. And but they said even a front end like that would be $1 million or a couple of $1 million. So at the highest, that'd be about $2 million what they got on October 1st. And other people are saying to do the complete thing absolute right, the front end and the back end would be about $10 million. So we estimate that a lot of experts estimate that what they got for October is worth about $1 million or $2 million.
Okay, but I have a question. I understand the insurance companies were supposed to help develop the back end of the website, so that would have been paid for by the insurance companies. Where does this $678 million come from?
Well, the $678 million went to Obama's college friend.
What? Wait a minute. You can't tell me that there was an inside payment to somebody related to Michelle Obama. How could that be?
Not related. She was her college buddy, and her company, CGI, they're the one who got the contract for the Obamacare website.
Well, you know, now that you bring up CGI, it does refresh my memory that, in fact, it was a no-bid contract handed to CGI, and the value of that contract was $678 million. But the problem is they had spent almost $400 million to the point where they did the rollout in October, and then what they found, because there were so many fixes necessary, they've allocated up to $1 billion for CGI to fix this. But the challenge I have is, $1 billion for a website? I don't think Amazon paid for that much to build their website. What's the comparison?
Well, what's interesting about it is even if you use the $678 million number, and it's a $2 million website, so you're spending $2 million for a $678 million website, so that gives you a profit of $676 million, which is a 33,900% profit.
Wait a minute, you give the profit to who?
Well, CGI.
Oh, CGI.
Well, I'm saying for what they got, for what they paid. So they're pulling down, you know, a 33,900% profit, which is a good profit margin.
It's a good profit. But I understand that CGI has already been on 5 previous projects with government, including the IRS, by the way, and health services prior, and they had problems with those websites and those type of technologies prior to this. So why would they get a no-bid contract valued at almost $700 million, Mark?
Well, it'll be more than $700 million. But
well, after the fixes.
But the point is, if you take this profit margin so far in Obamacare, if you look like what they've done, and you expand that and say, okay, the whole healthcare industry, right, is about a sixth of the economy, which is about $16 trillion at $2.4 trillion, right? And so if you're going to get that same profit margin, and use the same numbers keep working out the same way, that means we're going to spend about $718 trillion a year on health care, and over Obama's next 3 years, we'll be into about $2.4 quadrillion for health care.
Wait a minute, you're talking about numbers that I don't even know where that's going. Why don't we go back and find out? I understand the woman that was Michelle Obama's friend was named, I have it right here, Tony Towns Whitley, and she was actually graduated the same year as Michelle Obama from Princeton,
Right.
and that in fact they were part of all the same groups and they hung out together. But wouldn't that look a little odd to the national press to find out that Michelle's Obama's best friend from college, her company got a no-bid contract for $700 million on a website that could have been built for 10 or less? How do you justify that?
Well, there's nothing technically illegal about that.
Oh, of course not.
But it does kind of raise a couple eyebrows if they're going to be taking this type of profit margin. You know, what's going to happen to the rest of the project? And if you're talking about $2.4 quadrillion, that's enough. If you took $1 bills, put them on top of each other and stacked them up to the moon and back 336 times, that'd be your 2.4 quadrillion.
Well, that's a lot of money, Mark. And
Yeah.
the moon's a long ways away. So my question is, though, is the website, I guess the website must be fully functional and must be perfectly operated so everyone can get the healthcare programs they want. Is that where it's at today?
Well, it's hard to say, but there's some people that say if you leave your personal information on the website, Obamacare website, they're at risk of their confidential information being hacked. There's high exposure of personal information on the federal Obamacare online exchange, according to, it was a white hat, I guess these are good hackers, you know, like they go and do security.
Right.
David Kennedy, who testified before Congress about the flawed Obamacare website. So another website security expert who testified before Congress was a Morgan Wright, and he said the whole website needs to be shut down, a new one built from scratch.
But wait a minute, Amazon and eBay and all these other sites seem to be able to operate without a problem with millions of hits a day. Why is it that this website is not functioning? Is there any explanation? Did Kathleen Sebelius have an explanation? Because she's actually the person in charge of this.
Well, some of the back and forth was that the administration wanted to let some of the information out piece by piece. And they didn't want to, and so there was some push and tug between the technical people and the political people.
Okay, so but how does that play out? Is Kathleen Sebelius taking responsibility for this out and out failure of the website? Or is she just saying, hey, that's the way it goes? What's she doing about it?
Well, actually, Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius testified, she did this under oath. The website has never crashed. She testified under oath under penalty of perjury, but it certainly functioned at a very low speed. So she testified under penalty of perjury that it never crashed.
Do you realize that the whole month of October the website crashed, and then it went into November with the website crashing? Did she have any knowledge of that the website was actually crashing?
Well, when she was showing off Obamacare website in Miami, it crashed, okay?
That was on stage, right?
No, it was on TV.
It was on TV.
Well, it was a video. Anyway, the site was crashing, upon David Kennedy for online security firm Trusted Sec. So anyway, she denies that it's ever crashed. It's working fine. You guys are making this up. That's what she said under penalty of perjury.
So we have a no-bid contract that went to Michelle Obama's best friend from college. We have a website that never crashed, although nobody can sign up. We also have numbers coming out of the White House saying that they will not tell us how many people actually paid to sign up, although they say they've had 2 million visits. There's no record of how many people of those 2 million visits have actually paid. So then, what are we to believe? Did you try and use the website?
No, I wouldn't try to use the website.
I tried to use the website.
Yeah.
And you know what I found? They wanted me to data enter my social security number, my name, my address, my income, before I can even look at any healthcare programs. So what is that all about? Does Amazon ask for your credit card before you even look what do you want to buy?
Well, what's interesting about the argument that it's going to save the $250 billion is that they were saying, okay, when people have this health insurance, they're not going to go to the emergency room.
Oh.
And that'll save a lot of money because they'll go to a regular doctor instead of going to the emergency room. Well, there was a whole study done with 10,000 low-income people in Oregon that got Medicaid, and they found out that they do 40% more emergency room visits
Oh, since the Obamacare.
since they got the Medicaid.
Okay, I think we're going to have to lay off and move on because I got to tell you, this subject is too big for one segment. So let's move on to our second segment of the evening, and I believe we're talking about the Sixth Amendment on this one. Tell me, Mark, what's going on?
Well, Constitutional Corner in Monticello, New York, there's a mayor, Gordon Jenkins, was arrested for a DUI on November 16, 2013. He claims he was targeted by the police because of some kind of political adversarial relationship.
Wait a minute, did he try to use the racial I understand that Mayor Jenkins is actually black. The officer that arrested him was white. Is he claiming some kind of racist issue here?
Well, he says there's
Antithesis?
No, antipathy.
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 For what?
Well, what he's saying is he cut the police force's budget.
Okay.
And so they don't like him because he cut the budget.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that because he cut the police force budget, he was arrested for a DUI?
Yeah, so he was...
And that's driving under the influence.
Well, driving for being budget cutting.
For budget cutting.
Yeah, driving
But wait a minute.
Driving by budget cutting, yeah.
Okay, so I have a question, though. Was he actually found to be, what was his BAC? Was he legally drunk at the time he was driving?
He refused to take chemical tests.
Oh, that means he automatically loses his license. Is
so
that
he refused to take the chemical test.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Well, they would have to use the subjective observations at the time to determine whether he was under the influence.
Well, how did he react when he was taken to the police station? I understand there's some controversy about that as well.
Well, Michael Sussman, Jenkins' lawyer, says that he was handcuffed to a wall for hours and was not allowed to call his attorney.
Wait a minute. The mayor of this township, being arrested by his own police,
right,
and he's not allowed to call his attorney, that sounds like a violation of the Sixth Amendment. And, so he didn't talk to them, did he? Did he talk to the police?
I think
either under witness observation or video observation or anything like that?
I think he might have made a few comments.
He did? What were those comments?
Well, you'd have to look at the video yourself to ascertain what he actually said. But his attorney said that as soon as he asked for his attorney, questioning should have ceased at that point.
Of course.
And and they said the questioning continued, and so that shouldn't be admissible.
Yeah, but see, he's an intelligent man. Why would he continue to entertain the discussion if he's already asked for his attorney? And the fact that he's a mayor, he understands police procedure pretty well. So you would think that he would have stopped talking the moment he asked for his attorney. Why would he keep talking?
We don't know the answer to that one.
But he kept talking.
But people can watch the videotape to ascertain that.
Is it entertaining?
Well, it's elucidating.
Oh,
it's educational.
It's educational.
But the point of the matter is, under the Sixth Amendment, you have a right to counsel during prosecutorial processes, right?
Of course.
And that, the Supreme Court's ruled that starts, when you're arrested.
Okay, well, we do know that custodial interrogation is when you're in custody with no ability to leave.
And he was handcuffed to a rail.
And so obviously, if he's handcuffed to a rail in the police station, he has no ability to leave. Okay, so we agree to that, right? So they're asking him questions. Are they asking him about whether he's committed a crime, or do you know if he's asking about what he's doing that night, or if he's been drinking, or do we have any idea? What's the sense of what they were asking him?
Well, like I said, you'd have to watch the video to really go into that. But the point was, the big issue is that when you ask for your attorney, the police are not supposed to.
They're supposed to stop.
They're supposed to stop
immediately.
Right there. Stop there. Now, there's a difference. Now, if you said that I want to remain silent, they can wait a little while and see if they can get you talking again.
Right.
So that's not really an effective way of claiming your rights.
No, you got to say, I want my attorney, because that's actually using your right properly.
Right. And he did that, and the police didn't recognize that right.
Why'd they keep him chained to a wall?
Well, the story, as far as I can ascertain, is that the mayor had made budget cuts to the police force. And the police force said, well, since we're having budget cuts, we can't heat the jail cells anymore. So they're saying, well, we couldn't put you in a jail cell because it would have been too cold, so we handcuffed you to a handicap rail in one of the offices. but it didn't really look like he could sit down or use the restroom or something like that. So it looked like kind of a.
Well, I mean, how long was he handcuffed?
His lawyer claims he was there for 7 hours.
7 hours.
Right.
Normally, police, excuse me, normally police don't even hold drunk drivers
like
for that
4
long.
hours.
Yeah, they hold them for 4 and let them go when they're sober.
So this is
they stumble out.
This is handcuffed to a rail, not being able to really sit down or stand up or lie down, handcuffed to a rail for 7 hours with no attorney.
Well, I think there's something wrong here. Now, has the mayor decided what he's going to do with this police force now? Well, besides major cutbacks.
Yeah, I think they might have some more cuts.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's still going on. But another, similar to this case, now that, we talked about the forced blood test.
Of course.
The Supreme Court said they can't. Used to be they could force you to take a blood test, right? You say, I don't want to take a test. They strap you down and take a test, without a warrant.
Right. Well, what they have been doing is the moment you say no, they say, oh, yeah. They throw you on the table. They bring in a phlebotomist. They're popping the blood out of you, and that's how they're convicting you.
But here, now that the Supreme Court has ruled that you have to have a warrant. So now in some counties in Georgia, right, they get the warrant, and they're forcibly, getting the blood test from people.
Well, how fast can they get a warrant?
I don't know, but they say if you refuse a breathalyzer, they get the warrant, and they do the blood test, and they forcibly draw the blood. So they're saying
Wait
this
a minute.
is good for conviction.
I got to tell you something. First of all, alcohol in the system is a fleeting part of the system.
Evidence, yeah.
Yeah, the evidence is going away. So do they have a judge on call to be able to get warrants to do drunk driving, blood removals? I don't understand how that's playing out here, Mark.
Well, apparently they've got the warrants in several cases, and they're forcibly doing blood draws.
So that means a judge is literally on call at 24 hours a day, and they can just call the judge
from
and get
midnight to 3.
Now, do they take blood from the good mayor?
They didn't take blood. My understanding is they have no chemical test results.
So we just have a mayor that, on a video, said a wide variety of things to the police, and obviously demonstrating how intoxicated he was. And that they're not going to be able to charge him with anything?
Well, I think my understanding of it, he was driving by an accident or a collision or something. He stopped to kind of check in to see what was going on.
A good Samaritan.
And then apparently why he was there or why he was leaving, the police thought he exhibited something that showed that he was under the influence. And so then they put the lights on him and pulled him over, and that's when they arrested him.
Okay, so now, is there any indication this is some kind of racial overtones? That's what I asked in the beginning. Did you read anything in your system about whether or not this is racially charged? Or
He didn't claim that. He claimed that it was, antipathy because the budget cuts.
I have a question though. What's the word "cracker" mean?
I don't know.
Okay, because I do understand he said the word. There's some really cute things he did say, and part of it was effing crackama, something like that.
I don't know. You have to watch
But isn't cracka mean white?
I think you have to watch the video to determine all that kind of stuff.
Okay, well, we should have the video.
The main thing is...
We should get the video. This would be entertaining. That's the video.
Yeah, the video's public record, Gordon Jenkins. But, I mean, the main thing is that this guy asked for his attorney.
Yeah.
The police didn't let him have it.
Yeah.
And that's a violation of the
We
Sixth
need to
Amendment.
follow up on
The
this,
Sixth Amendment
but
right.
let's just find out what happens with the good mayor. Let's move on to our last subject. What are we covering in our last subject tonight, Mark?
Well, this is a little bit more about the technical issues surrounding Obamacare. And one of the things that Obamacare did that really wasn't that well publicized before it went into effect.
You mean the 21 taxes that nobody knew about?
Well, they were in the law.
They were in the law. Did you have a chance to read it before you voted for it?
I didn't vote on it. So.
I didn't vote for it, but I know Nancy Pelosi said, well, we've got to pass it, then we'll find out what's in it.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so we got that part. So what is this? What are you talking about tonight,
so
Mark?
Obamacare is a 3.8% surtax
on what?
On investment income.
Does that include homes?
It include homes. It include homes.
Did everyone know that they now have a sales tax if they sell their home?
Well, now they know.
Now they know.
They'll find out soon enough.
They'll find out the first time they sell their home.
Okay, now what's interesting about it, it only applies to people making more than $200,000 adjusted annual income, but if you did sell a house...
You'd be making more than $200,000.
Well, it depends, but in most places you'd probably sell your house for more than $200,000.
Yeah.
Now, also, what makes this even more interesting, I mean, just this last year, the top capital gains tax went from 15 to 20%, right? For individuals with incomes of $400,000 or more per year. So if you sold a house for $400,000, you get hit with both of those increases. So investors now would be facing a 23.8 tax on a net investment income. So that's a 58% increase from 2012. So if you sold in 2012, you would have saved yourself 58% of your tax. So
you know, Mark, that's shocking.
well,
What can you do to protect yourself for that?
okay. So one thing you could do is a charitable remainder trust.
Okay, charitable remainder trust is a trust that's non-revocable, that involves monies that are be donated to charities throughout a certain period of time, and you have the ability to set the value of the trust at the time you set up the trust. Is that what it is?
Well, what you do is that you transfer the property to the trust, right?
Correct.
It's sold, and the proceeds are paid out in annual payments, at least 5% of the trust value.
But the proceeds are being paid to a charity.
No, you during your lifetime, you get the proceeds.
You get the proceeds during your lifetime, but then it changed. That's why they call it a charitable remainder trust.
But then when you die,
that's the remainder.
The remainder goes to the charity.
Okay, got it.
So basically, you can take it, 5% each year. You can take that, and then so the value of the trust at the trustor's death then goes to the selected charity.
Okay, so now, so during your lifetime, you can have a distribution based on basically an estimated value, because I do know that there were some examples. If you started with, say, 50,000 shares of stock and they have a value of $100,000, and you set the value at $100,000, even if that stock goes up to $1 million, it's still, when it's coming out during the distribution, it's still valued as though it's $100,000. Is that the way the IRS is looking at it, or?
Well, in this case, let's take a simpler case. Let's say you had a house,
yes,
or a vacation home, okay, and then you want to use some of that, but you don't want to pay the 3.8% Obamacare penalty or tax.
Correct.
Okay.
And who does?
So, well, people who support Obamacare want to pay higher taxes.
Of course they do. We all do. And that's why I wrote my check right before the show. I mailed that in to the president and said, here's my cut this month. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, so once the property has been transferred to the trust, it's sold. And then the proceeds are paid out in annual payments of 5%. So for the next 20 years, you get your 5%. And then if you pass away, whatever the remainder is, that goes to your selected charity.
Okay, now, so that's why it's non-revocable, so that the remainder must go to a selected charity.
Right. Now, the tax advantage is that trusts can sell their appreciated property without incurring the 3.8% Obamacare tax. So, like, say someone bought a vacation home for $200,000 and they sell it for 1.2, right? Because it went up in value.
Right.
Then that income's, you're making $1 million on this, right? So in order to get away from that, you can do this charitable remainder trust.
Say, how much of the trust can you distribute it to yourself during your lifetime?
You do annual payments of 5%. So
5% of the total value of the trust.
Right.
So that means typically, if your total value of the trust is $1 million, you get 5% issued each year while you're still alive.
Right.
Is there an age restriction on when you can start taking no from your charitable trust?
No, I don't think there is.
There's no age distribution.
But so you're still going to get the beneficiaries are still subject to capital gains owed, but you still have smaller payments. Tax will be spread over a longer period of time.
But wait a minute, the beneficiaries are a charity, is that correct? And if they're nonprofit, why would they have any responsibility?
No, but I mean, if you're the beneficiary because you're taking that 5%.
You're the beneficiary.
So you're still going to be having to pay the capital gains.
Okay, but
you can't get away from the capital gains.
Can you leave the charitable trust to a non-charity?
No.
So it has to go from the moment you pass. That now the charity stands in your position to be able to collect from the trust.
The trust rests.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're able to set up a charitable trust, can you do that when you're 30? And then you start taking distributions? Say you put in assets and you have a charitable trust. Can you start taking distribution from that or immediately, effectively? Or is there a waiting period?
Well, there's the rules are it's a 5%. So what happens is that, you want to sell it, and that gets away from your 3.8%. And so this is a way of, getting by that 3.8%.
So technically, you get away from the 3.8% that came.
But you can't escape the capital gains.
But you can't escape the capital gains. But wait a minute, I'm under the impression that you're setting the value of the assets.
No, the asset gets sold.
No, while you're still alive. you're still setting the value. So that 5% is only based on the original value. Isn't that what it is? Or does it increase with the, say if that house that you're talking about that you put into the charitable trust, you find that house goes up $1 million. And at that point, your distribution from that trust is still the 5% of the total value. But are you, because I'm under the impression that you can actually set a value at the beginning, which would be the original value of the, say, the real estate, when you put that into the trust.
Well, the thing is, that once it's in the trust, it's sold, and the trust then consists of cash.
Okay, but is there a reevaluation of the value of the assets in the trust?
Well, there might be interest or whatever, however you're holding the money.
Right.
But I'm just saying the property itself, the vacation home is sold.
It's sold, but there's cash in the trust.
There's cash in the trust.
But you've made a profit. But at the initial time that you've made the property non-revocable is when you first add it to the trust. That's when, because the trust becomes non-revocable,
but then
so you can't take it out.
But you're doing 5% of the initial value, and as the value goes up, things can change.
Okay, so now you're saying now that you can still have capital gains tax on the value as it increases in the trust. Is that what you're saying?
No, but as you're pulling out that 5%, you're going to have to pay capital gains on that 5%.
Just on the 5%?
On the 5%.
But that's 5% versus the original value at the time you put it into the trust.
That's right.
Okay,
so, but also you're paying that over, say, 20 years or 10 years, so it's not like you're taking this big hit all at once.
Well, you know, that could actually apply to a large portion of society, because there is a portion of society, maybe 25, 30%, they'd actually take advantage of that under this, unfortunately, this new tax that just came up. And it would seem logical.
Well, the thing is, on the other hand, is like, it kind of makes sense in a way, because let's say you're kind of retiring, right? And you have a certain amount of, set income coming in, but this would give you an opportunity to get paid for a set amount every year, and you're paying a small amount of that capital gains every year, so it doesn't upset everything. And so why do you really need all that money all at once?
No, not
and then pay that huge capital gains and also pay that 3.8.
Right. In fact, the whole idea behind this is to avoid that large capital gains and just take the capital gains on the smaller amount during the distribution period while you're still alive.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, whatever the remainder is, that's why it's a remainder, goes to the charity of your choice.
Right.
Okay. Well, that sounds actually a good way for a lot of people to think about their estates. They should, this charitable trust is...
Well, you're thinking more like in a vacation home or a second home, and you don't have anyone to pass it to, and then you're going, well, I can use this for my retirement. Now, there's...
it's sort of like a reverse mortgage.
Yeah, for your vacation home.
For your vacation home,
in a way.
Right.
So there's several advantages to having a trust over just having a will. This is one of them. But so one advantage of a trust is it can start immediately. So if you're seriously injured, a trustee can manage your finance until you're able to take over again. So that's one of the things that make trust valuable. Also, assets that pass through a trust are generally not subject to probate.
Correct.
So there's some advantages of going in a trust, and then you have like these charitable remainder trusts. There's other types of trusts that you can use, but this particular case comes up because of this new 3.8% surtax, which is a lot of money. It's $1 million.
I got to tell you, Mark, we should have a whole segment just on trust. But as far as tonight, I wanted to thank you, Mark. We had a wonderful show, and as I look out to all those that are watching us, I want to thank you and wish everybody a happy New Year.